The Giants start 1-0 in the 2024 preseason with a 14-3 win against the Detroit Lions. Let's get right into what we are going to talk about, and that is kind of the takeaways from this game, because really that's all you can get. It's not anything crazy in the way of, oh my gosh, this team played phenomenal. They scored 2 touchdowns. They were both from the same player, which is going to be the number one takeaway from this game, and we'll get right into him first because Eric Gray was the highlight for the New York Giants in this game. 4 carries for 52 yards. Also, both touchdowns for the team. One of them on a 48-yard shifty TD, one of them on a goal line score where he just kind of charged right through the middle and got in for the TD. Also had 4 catches for 46 yards. So Gray was involved not only on the touchdowns as a runner, but also as a pass catcher out of the backfield as well. Really showed why the New York Giants drafted him a couple of years ago. And I want to talk about the touchdown first because Eric Gray, obviously his speed, his shiftiness really put safety Maurice Norris, I think it's Maurice Norris, on the ground with that juke. A stutter step to the left, a cut to the right. And Norris, he knocked Gray's helmet off on Monday on a dirty hit. If you remember that video, I think it was filmed by a couple of beat reporters, but Jordan Ronan today during this game noted on that specifically that Norris was the one who put Eric Gray on the ground. And everyone was surprised because a fight didn't arise from that hit. It was from other plays around practice on Monday, but that play specifically, for some reason, did not end up in a fight. But it doesn't matter because Eric Gray got his revenge today, and Norris will be clowned on that for a while, and we have that video now for as long as we need it for Norris. So there you go. RB2 now, that kind of leads to the question because everyone was saying, oh, that job, including me, by the way, that job is for Tyrone Tracy. He's not losing it. He's running with the ones in training camp. There's no beating Mr. Tracy. Well, after the game today, I don't know if that's the case anymore. Now, Tyrone Tracy did have 5 carries for 26 yards. Dante Miller really had the whole second half with the team. He had 12 carries for 63 yards with Tommy DeVito at quarterback. And all I want to say here, remember, this is all the same team. So I'll take away this. Let's take away a positive from this game because not only did they win, all 3 running backs that played today that are fighting for this running back 2 spot, you could say, were super successful. And I'm excited to see what the 3 running backs, when Devin Singletary gets thrown into the mix, what they can do for this team. Because you look at Singletary, and now with Tracy and what looks to be Eric Gray as the other 2 guys behind him, all 3 of these players are shifty. And to replace Saquon Barkley with a triple threat, that's pretty good. I know there's no one that can be Saquon Barkley. Let's see how good Saquon Barkley is for the Eagles before we talk super highly about him. The Giants, they're set up through the foundation of draft picks and a free agent signing. That free agent signing being Singletary, those draft picks being Gray a couple years ago, and now this past season, or this past draft with Tyrone Tracy. Let's see how they can do. But what I like to see is these guys are shifty, they're quick. They might be smaller than other running backs, but they definitely are able to get in open space. And that's what you like to see, and that's what we saw today from Eric Gray. So really good by him. Malik Neighbors and Jalen Hyatt, they started this game, but 1 catch for 0 yards was accounted for both of them, and that was just the 1 catch by Jalen Hyatt. Throw the ball to Malik Neighbors, man. I mean, that's what we're here for in preseason. We want to see anything that involves Malik Neighbors in training camp and in preseason, and we weren't able to see that tonight, even though Neighbors was open repeatedly, and that's where I'm going to get to the quarterback in Drew Lock, who was in for most of the first quarter before hurting the left side of his hip after being slammed to the ground late in the quarter with less than 2 minutes left. Joe Shane came on during the third quarter of the broadcast on Fox today. He said that Drew Lock seems to be okay. Brian Dable in the press conference also said he seems to be okay after that injury. So good news on the injury side for Drew Lock. He threw an interception into double coverage before that injury, and he just didn't look bad. He wasn't getting the balls out to wide receivers. I don't know if it was because of the slick conditions, the receivers weren't getting open, but I didn't think that was the case because we saw on, replays that Neighbors was getting open and Drew Lock just wasn't throwing the ball to him. Now, I'm going to say it like everyone has been saying it on social media. Let's give Tommy DeVito a chance at the starting quarterback. at the backup cornerback position, starting in most of the preseason games. How about I'll say that? I don't know what I was going for there. We don't need a repeat of last year unless we really have to, which I really hope we don't have to. And Daniel Jones is the answer right now. But yeah, I think Tommy DeVito should go over Drew Lock, at least at this moment. You would think Drew Lock, because of his experience and how he's played overall compared to Tommy DeVito leading the Giants for 3 games where he became America's quarterback, that he would be the answer, but it doesn't seem like it right now. So sure, let's get Tommy DeVito in there. Let's see what he can do. See if he can shake things up, because when DeVito was in, it wasn't anything terrible. 8 for 15, 92 yards, a pretty good stat line. I'll take that. So yeah, Drew Lock before the injury. Luckily, it seems like he's okay, but before the injury was not playing well. Wide receivers in this game, I mean, combining for 3 catches, 15 yards. You had guys like Eric Gray, who I was saying, who was really leading the receiver. He was the top receiving threat, actually, with 4 catches for 46 yards. Behind him was Jackson, Tyree Jackson, who is 6'7", competing at the tight end spot. Technically not a wide receiver. 2 catches for 34 yards, and then just kind of split between a few players. But yeah, really no action for the wide receivers tonight. Let's switch over to the defensive end. I have 3 players I want to highlight. Only one super important one for the roster wise. No offense to the other 2 guys, but I'll get to them when I get to them. Deontay Johnson performed well and really looking like he could be the linebacker 2 for the New York Giants, possibly. 1 sack and 2 really nice tackles. One of them was almost a tackle for loss. I don't know exactly. I don't think it counted as a tackle for loss. Maybe it was a gain of 1 or 2 yards. But Johnson, he's been good in training camp. He's been playing with the first team repeatedly at this point. I think it's kind of his spot to lose. The roster spot's there. Now it's a spot of where does he fit in the depth chart at the linebacker position. I think that's really all Johnson. And I'm excited to see what he does for this New York Giants team at the linebacker spot. And yeah, a good day for Johnson today. It was really fun to watch him in the first half. Unfortunately, I think he went off for some sort of injury, and he did not come back into the game. So hopefully Johnson's okay. And then 2 other players I wanted to mention. Trey Herndon had a nice interception. I don't know how you really want to call it nice when you have a guy like Nate Sudfeld throwing into triple coverage. Him and Drew Lock are competing for who can throw a worse interception. And I think Nate Sudfeld took the cake on that. But what was even better, Trey Herndon picks off the ball, crossing the field from the left to the right side, moving about 20 yards downfield in terms of the yard markers, gets hit from behind by an offensive lineman, ball smacks out of his hand, goes right back to the Lions, who went for it, by the way, there on a 3rd down. That's when the interception occurred in the red zone, and they get the ball back with a fresh set of downs. Luckily, it didn't turn into much, I believe, but obviously, as no touchdown was on the board throughout this entire game for the Detroit Lions. But yeah, little funny welcome to the 3rd team at preseason week 1 for the New York Giants. Trey Herndon, that's unfortunate. And then something that's not unfortunate for the first guy out for most days of open training camp in defensive lineman Casey Rogers. He had a sack in the 4th quarter and also a pass deflection and messed up one of Nate Sudfeld's passes. Nice little tidbit to add in there. A little shout out to Casey Rogers as I was seeing him walk out first basically every day of training camp. And with that, again, the final headline, Eric Gray RB2 ? That's what I'm going to leave you with. Thank you so much for watching and or listening to this. I appreciate it. Hit that subscribe button down below, or if you're listening, it's a little bit different, drop a thumbs up. Also, if you're listening a little bit different, give us 5 stars on there. New York Giants, football's back, 2024 preseason week 1 recap. That's going to do it. We'll catch you soon for another video and or episode. Thanks so much for watching or listening. See you next time. Peace.